I'm going to get to the reasons why they're trying to stop the Trump rally because this is important in a moment. But I want to show you how they're bringing out all the tools in the media toolbox. What are the tools first? The tools are disinformation, threats of violence, threats that it's dangerous, racial and identity politics, and heckler's veto. These are all the tools in the media toolbox to dissuade you Republicans from doing things. You're creating a public danger. You're a racist. It could be dangerous if you show up, so it's a public safety threat. All of this. Mobs are descending. This is how they do. So let's go to the headlines again, in case you think I'm making this up. They are so desperate to shut this down for reasons we'll get to in a second. Here's the New York Times headline, too. Check this out. Let's go through them one at a time. So here's the slimes here. Tulsa officials plead for Trump to cancel rally as virus spikes in Oklahoma. Oh, my gosh. Plead with them. They're begging the New York. Meanwhile, I just don't recall the New York Times stories about Mayor de Blasio pleading with protesters to social distance and stay away from each other. Threat of the virus. I don't remember that headline. Was that Paula? Do you remember that one? Did I give you that one? No, Paula and Joe, did you see that one? Did you read? I know Joe's an avid reader of the New York. Joe uses the New York Times when he's changing his oil. That's about it, right? Put on the ground a little bit. He wants to, among other toilet papers at premium. The New York Times may come in very handy for that.
Rapid
so
fish.
I just don't. It's a Friday show, right? I just don't recall reading any of those stories about public health officials in the New York Times begging people to stay home. So we must have missed that, I'm sure, because they're a serious media outlet. So here's the BBC. If you can't use hey, it's a threat, you're all going to die. You're all going to die if you show up at this rally. If that doesn't work, we definitely have to go to the race issue. Identity politics is the only way to stop this now. Accuse everybody of derogatory racial overtones, destructive racial animus. Here we go. BBC, Trump in Tulsa. City faces up to violent past ahead of their rally. Now, listen, to be clear, because again, we do facts on the show and the truth matters. And we can use sarcasm. This is serious. Tulsa does have a historical moment, the destruction of Black Wall Street, as they call it in Tulsa, which was candidly one of the most disturbing and underreported historical events in American history. I mean, what happened there was grotesque. Just the wiping out of one of the most prosperous, largely Black areas in the United States, the imprisonment of people. It's a horrible story. But ladies and gentlemen, the United States over its history, we've had a sordid history with race, and a lot of areas of the country have had issues. I don't understand. What are you suggesting? So any area that's had an issue involving race in the past, including areas in the South, we're not supposed to hold any kind of political rallies for an election because of what happened, decades ago? I'm not getting the connection. Well, the media wants to make a connection again, because what's the subtext here? Well, if this is dangerous isn't going to work and you're all going to die hasn't scared people away. Well, how do we know they haven't scared people away? Because, ladies and gentlemen, they've got 1 million RSVPs for this event in Tulsa. 1 million. 1 million. Even when I was running for Congress and we were one of the hottest races in the country, the most people I think we ever had at an event was like 1,000. Do you know what it's like to get 1 million RSVPs to an event? So clearly you're going to die, this is dangerous, didn't work. So now they have to pull out this event, Joe, subtext here, get ready. This event is racially insensitive because there was this destructive, horrible event in Tulsa years and years ago. It's all they've got. It's all they've got. They don't have anything else. Nothing they're doing is working. Let's go to another one. Here's Time Magazine. Again, got to go back to the toolbox. Identity politics. It's the tried and true. As Trump comes to Tulsa, teachers grapple with how to talk to students about the city's 1921 race massacre. Listen, there's nothing wrong with it. Matter of fact, this, learning from our history is important. I'm not a leftist. I don't want to destroy our history, good or bad. That's a leftist thing. Wiping out our history. A country with no history isn't a country at all. They only want to talk about the flowery stuff. They don't want to learn from the bad stuff. Good for Tulsa teachers. You want to talk about the 1921 massacre on Black Wall Street in Tulsa? That's great. I mean that. Good. If we don't learn from our history, we're, as you've heard 1,000 times, sadly, many of us would be destined to repeat it. But I don't understand. We've known about the 1921 massacre since 1921. So now President Trump's showing up, and all of a sudden, there's this new connection has to be made between President Trump and the Tulsa massacre? Why? Again, learn to read the subtext of the destructive media. I got a story later I'll show you too. How they will not stop until the country is at war with each other. They won't stop. They will not stop. The subtext, again, is Trump is really insensitive because we had this incident in 1921 for coming here. There's nothing, that's the subtext. If it was anyone else, this would have never, ever come up. Anyone else on the Democrat side, a Republican, yeah, of course they would, because that's what they do. Okay, so if it's dangerous and you're going to die doesn't work, and identity politics and accusing Trump of being an insensitive racist doesn't work, well, then they're going to go to heckler's veto, which is their old tried and true public safety tactic, which they're trying to do now. The mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma, has just declared a curfew, stating it's a public safety threat. Fox News. These articles will all be up in the show notes, bongino.com/newsletter, by the way. Tulsa mayor declares civil emergency ahead of Trump rally. Stragglers face arrest. Now, the Tulsa mayor is a Republican, but is under tremendous pressure right now, again, to make sure this thing does not go off. So if you were waiting online for this event, which I can only imagine happened because 1 million people RSVP'd, now you're going to have to go home and lose your place in line. You can thank your Republican mayor there of Tulsa, who is, again, succumbing to pressure here from the left because they have to shut this thing down. Let's look at this snippet from the Fox News piece to show you what the heckler's veto, how it works. I have received information, the mayor said, from the Tulsa PD and other law enforcement agencies that shows that individuals from organized groups, Joe, who've been involved in destructive and violent behavior in other states are planning to travel to Tulsa to cause unrest around the rally. Okay, so get your police department out there and shut it down. That's the job, right? Public safety?
Yeah.
So you shut the rally down and the people on the line at the rallies by declaring a curfew instead? So you punish the peaceful people out there to rally and assemble, you know, like the Constitution thing, assemble, petition, assemble. I'm not sure Oklahoma, I don't know if they know anything about that. The Tulsa, I'm not really sure if he's heard of that thing. Constitution, First Amendment. So shut them down, send them home. But yes, let the violent anarchists flow right into the city and do what they need to do. Brilliant plan. Well done. Well done.
You just heard Dan Bongino.